I'm open to work with antique materials to new materials, you know. The young generation always think that I'm using only carbon and things like this, fiberglass. It's absolutely not true. I can use stone and copper and there will be no problem. It's really the right balance between what you have to do, how do you manufacture, at which cost, and with which kind of emotion. Is it a yogurt or is it an ice wine? It's not the same answer. We don't have the same arguments. To do yogurts, it's also very difficult, but it's not as nice as doing nuts. But I still continue to do bumped yogurts and things which are not really visible in museums. And this is very much close to the industrial design.
When you were going about researching to create body protection for the different fork, how did you do your research? Did you get people to help you research, or do it yourself, or actually try out this fork?
Well, in this case, for example, I myself used to use a bike. I had many friends which were racers and so on, and we discussed. We roughly knows at that time. Now the game became more complex. You need then to make the children's, you need to make the ladies, you need to make customers, cheap customers, renting then is a tremendous project. So then you have to have a team. But then the team, you know, it's a little bit like the black part of the marketing. When the things are done, it's easy to make marketing because they know where to push the buttons. When you invent something which doesn't exist, that's not an easy thing to ask to marketing because they don't know what to ask to who, you know. So at the beginning it was just by friends, speaking, talking, good sense, you know, when the guy put his knees. At the first stage, I remember I put some rubber, and the rubber was too sticky. When you arrive in the first curve, it just goes boom, boom, and it fell. And so I make it very hard. And you arrive, you make the curve, and you go, it was impossible. It took us it's like the experiment. You try, experiment, go back and forth, and then you have a solution with the first generations of products. And this is really what we have done here. But now, when we are working, if I can't show you the new generations of product, but I can show you some others, it's really the market who says, we would like it to have it lighter, of course cheaper, more breathability, and could be dismantled and washable, things like this. And then, you know, you have this kind of input. Or for horse riding, like I say, it has to be like this, like that, because we hire one guy who give us all the information on the market and what happened, what does the other guys, and so on and so on. So it's good to work with the team, but it's, for me, at least with my character, it's good to get the information and then do what I have to do. I prefer to set up some collaborations and team collaboration into the factories, because every factory has its own know-how, which is done by, of course, experience, local experience, and what I bring is fresh air. And I tend to be the troublemaker, and that's it. But I don't want to make the finished piles with, you know, how the molds opens and the cooling things in the molds. That's not, I could do it, but it would be too costly, and then I need to put all the tables again. So I prefer to give the rules of the game and just, you know, all the story finished. So that's quite different from what I used to see in the States, where the industrial design, or they have engineers inside, they have all the process, they do the marketing. It's not my secret. I'm not, of course, if I would live in the States, maybe I would work like this, but it's not something I would do here. There's so many, for me at least, so many talents in the factories and the companies here in Europe that you don't need to rebuild your own talent inside. What you do is what they don't have. You absorb culture, you absorb information, and you tend to drive them to their new goal and your new aspect in your life. And that is already a lot. Make sure that you don't go too far from where you are, because then you get lost, you lose your credibility and so on. But this is roughly how I work. And the big difference is also that the companies, at least in Italy, are very small. And even with big names. And they tend to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 maximum technical people in their company who knows everything. So if I work in Germany, they tend to have 5, 10, 15, 50 people. In the US, they tend to have 100 people. So it's hard for me to arrive in the US and say, this is finished. And that's the rule of the game. I can give them orientation, as I do for the salaries. They have, in Nike, they have more than 200 designers. With a line of tables with all their beautiful Mac, they're making 2D things. They do it much better than me. That's not what I'm interested in. But I'm sure they were not able to do the first sandals I've done for them. Now they can do the evolutions much better. I don't give them the passion to continue to do the same thing. They do that better than me.
It's a different role.
Yeah. It's much more a kind of art direction or changing the mood or of course it's more complex. And it's also due to the age, I'm not a teenager anymore, I'm a piercing and a tattoo. So who knows? No.
Would you say that in your kind of organizational work is quite spread out, in your experience in Italy, as other designers you may know, or it's an open way of? I mean, that they're all different. Each one is different.
I would say yes, they're quite different. There is no print standard. Depends what you do. In my case, the work is very much me. And having other people that would do what I'm doing, it's not easy to handle it in the studio. We have other people. We have a mold maker, which is 500 meters from here. He's making all the mock-ups and so on. And one girl sick to death, that's happened. And we have 2 modelers upstairs. Sometimes we are in 3. I also work with them together. And but as I said, we for example, in 3D, we work with 2 types of technology. One is surface modeling with IF, and one is SolidWorks with solids. And of course, we use Photoshop and things to assemble and make presentation. And but the surface modeling, for example, is very slow, very expensive. And we use this only to make very industrial products, cameras, or, as I said, a suitcase. I will not do a chair like this. I've done this part. It was very difficult to model in solid 3D, but the bottom was made in solid 3D. So there are tricks in this way of working. There, I would say, it would make no sense to make this piece of furniture in 3D. Just make a sketch with some dimensions and so on. And then I have a guy who's teaching and make corrections. So you have to understand where is your value, what you want. And the fact that when I have special works, like say a lot of graphics and so on, I just put some friends. This is the way of working in Italy, which is quite unique. It's very important to have a workshop. Now I have a very crummy one. I used to have a model maker who worked more than 20 years for me. Now he's in pension, not working anymore. And before, when I was not in, now here into the space, I went out from it to make all the models. And it's really a restroom where I put everything in there for bricolage, nothing serious.
Yeah, I was just wondering, what are one of the biggest influences on your work that you do?
My biggest influence?
Yeah, what influences the style of your work and things like that?
But what changed my life was the success of making ski boots, you know. I was much more, I had a lot of convictions when I graduated. Like minimalist design, eggs is the best shape for egg and things like this. You can do that better, or... And after, you know, I had a bad accident on my ankle, and I make my own ski boots in plastic. All the boots were in leather at that time. And during an exhibition of architecture, I had those buildings and mock-ups that I was making. And I put these boots, as a piece of building in the middle of everything. And one guy came and said, "Oh, interesting. I'm a bootmaker, I'm Italian, and I would like to try to work with you because that's interesting." So I went to Italy. I was not speaking Italian at that time. And to make it short, because the story is quite nice, because it's a long exchange of opinions and evolution between these persons, me and this guy and his brothers and so on. He has a very small company, 120 workers, which is nothing when you make shoes. He was making roughly 120,000 pair, which is also a very small quantity when you make shoes. And after 1 year of working together, he makes 1,600,000 pair for me. And he didn't know, but he gave me a very good royalty at that time. So it makes me very rich, by the way. And then we had to readjust everything. But due to the fact that we changed completely the way of working, I changed my way of thinking, because I had to know and learn what was a boot was, you know, what plastic was in this field and so on, how to make machines, how to make molds.
Canadian designer. What would you say to him or to her?
Well, first of all, where do you want to work? If you want to work in US or in Canada or in Europe or in Mexico, it's completely different. There are many different answers. If you want to have your studio, as typically what you're going to see here in Milan, working in spots, that's another way that you can do that only here. I could be in Paris and doing this here because I'm well known, but for a young guy coming here, you know, knocking doors and so on, that's not an easy thing to do. And there are plenty of doing that. I think, you know, for example, a son of my friend in France asked me the same question. He has this guy, his kid who was studying in England. He has an engineer and he wants to do design. I think I influenced him a little bit. And so he went to Parsons School or something like this. Then he went to California, and now he's doing beautifully in California. But it's very much a Californian way of making design. With a lot of presentation, a lot of marketing, shifted babies, sell it well, and the life of the product is very small, very short, and so that's an answer. But I think if you're intelligent, you should be able to act. I mean, if you're in north of Europe and you do Finnish design, perfect, well, you know, wood, furniture, and so on, that's another way to do it. But if you're smart, you should be able to do both answers. I think flexibility would be my answer. Now it's maybe convenient to work in countries like China or Bangladesh, or if I would be 20, I think